Another sound but scruffy Matchbox from the late 70s, this time a Ford Transit Mark 1. I think it looks, like with the Rover Sterling on the last video, I think it looks pretty good like this, all kind of beat up, like a bit of a survivor. But these are out there. If you want one in this sort of condition, it's very, very easy to get one. I've got another one in this sort of condition that I'm going to keep like that. So this one's getting done. I tend to base whether I'm keeping it close to factory or not, based on whether the little plastic tow hitch is still in good condition, and on this one it's absolutely fine. So there's no point going for ultra realism when you've got this absolutely unrealistic plastic tow hitch on the back. So we're going for more restoring the toy rather than trying to make a realistic replica of a Mark 1 Transit. I mean, it's not just that, but I mean, how many Mark 1 Transits have got green glass? And that's what we've got here. That green glass, I think, that's the foundation of what's going to make this into a nice thing. Getting this right is crucial. If you leave this looking crazed and pitted and scruffy like it was to start with, that's going to let the whole thing down. If we want to make this look as nice as possible, best off just getting this glass right before we even think about doing anything else. So, as with previous things, it's becoming the routine now, really. Go down through the different sanding pads. So that's after we got it to this stage by, I would say, I'd just done the 3000 grit, and then that's what it looked like after the sort of really high grit, sort of 8,000-9,000 grit ones. That's done, really. It looks a million times better than it did. Nothing on this earth is going to get those little hairline cracks out of it. They are cracks, and trying to get those out of glass and still keep the glass transparent, it's not going to happen. This is what it looks like. I've just temporarily reinstalled it into the thing just so you can see the difference, and it looks crystal clear now. Yeah, the little tiny hairline cracks are still there, but that doesn't matter because they're in the overall setting of really nice clear glass. So similar thing as before. I mean, if you ever start to think these fleet of little sanding pads that I've got is the absolute backbone of this whole operation, yeah, they probably are. So the base plate itself isn't obviously getting mirror polished. It'd be pretty impossible to do that without taking every last bit of detail off the base plate. So the base plate's just going to get shined up back to looking like bright metal using the metal toothbrush. So the glass, it was a case of, like I say, as always, start with 1000 grit, use plenty of water, work all the way down through different grits. I've got 1000, we then go down to a 2000 and then a 3000, and then we start going through the older pads that have kind of become much higher grits through use. You can get 5000, 8000, 10,000 grit sanding pads or sanding paper. It doesn't matter really whether you use pads or paper. I find the pads are just a little bit, and yeah, we use the pads on the wheels as well. The wheels are made out of plastic. They will shine up just like any other item. Just like, because I mean, don't forget, the glass isn't really glass, it's made out of plastic. The wheels are probably made out of pretty similar plastic. This front end, this front grille and bumper, this is what I want to really make a thing out of, because this is the face of the van in effect. So I've got the 1500 grit finger sanding board out, and I'm going to try. What I want to do with that is make that bumper actually look like chrome, actually look like a real chrome bumper that you would have got on one of these vans, and the grille. And yet the body is getting mirror polished as with the last few. Obviously, only the cab is going to be getting mirror polished. We can't really do the bed with all its ribs and all the details that are on there. So we're using the metal toothbrush to just get that bed as bright, shiny silver metal as possible. But then the cab itself is going to be mirror polished. So it's quite an I wouldn't say it's quite an undertaking. There's nothing complicated or difficult about it, but I was working away on that bed for quite some time with various different metal toothbrushes, and then getting out little bits of paint using scalpel blades, and then what you actually do to get that metal that's underneath. I mean, 'cause you're not really going to get a sander in there, and even the metal toothbrush is going to miss bits. And you've not really got much that you can put any pressure on. So you actually use the scalpel blade to scrape the metal bright again, because you just want to make the metal. I mean, underneath the rib bed, that is getting painted the same colour as the cab. The impression that I want is that I want the bed to just be bright silver metal, and then the cab and the sort of bodywork underneath the metal bed, I want them to be one colour. So the cab's just getting its going through the different stages of mirror polishing now. Again, just like the glass, start off at 1000 grit and work your way down to the sort of ridiculously high grits. Sometimes you line the thing down on the pad and rubbing it on the pad, and then sometimes you line the thing itself down and rubbing the pad on it. You chop and change as you go. And like I say, when you've got a nice fan of pads like I've got, you can kind of make steps. You can sort of step them a bit, and then you can lean the body on the lower down pad and put more pressure on the bit that you want to sand. So I'm just finishing off that sort of grill and bumper now, because like I say, I want this to really be like actual chrome. And if you keep going, you will get there. And then to seal that in, I'm just using some Tamiya transparent. It's better than lacquer. It's better than using lacquer, and you can just, because this stuff levels off so beautifully. Because like I've said before, Tamiya clear doesn't really behave like paint. It's an unusual substance, and you can just dab it on with a cocktail stick, and as long as you don't put a ridiculous amount on there, it will just all level itself out nicely, and you won't really be able to tell it's there. All you'll know is that hopefully, in like a year's time, that grill and bumper will still be shining like this, and it won't have sort of tarnished or dulled again. That's the idea of putting it on there. Is if you get too much on, you can just draw a little bit off with some tissue or whatever. But the idea of putting that on there, that's not supposed to be seen, if you know what I mean. That's just meant to like protect it. So if you get to the end of that job and nobody can tell you've done it, that it's worked. So we'll go straight on to silvering the wheels. The wheels turned out to be in really good condition. I cleaned them out using the metal toothbrush. It can be used for that. So we're just doing the silver wheel trick. I've used the same trick with the pen that I did before. I took the like fibre tip out of it and turned it round, put it back in, so you get the real chromy silver from it. Put a couple of coats on. I think the pen itself is actually getting a bit old, so I find I usually have to put a couple of coats on with this one. When they're absolutely brand new, you can usually do it in one. So we're going to reassemble it briefly so we can admire it in its chrome-like splendour. Because it does look nice like this, it's just that I think it can look nicer, so we're going to put some paint on it as well. I'll apologise now. I thought I'd got this filming technique for the airbrushing figured out. I thought, let's just make it so that it's not just like a freckly hand display, and you can actually see the car itself being painted. Oh, this is just masking it up. I'm just masking the bed off. Just so that it doesn't get any, because obviously we don't want any red on there, because we want to keep the bed as like this aluminium looking kind of thing. But yeah, I did screw up the filming a little bit. I thought I'd figured it out. I thought I'd made it so that you could actually see the thing being painted rather than just my hands all the time. It turned out you doing it this new way, you just couldn't see it at all. And it's done now. It's painted. I did manage to get some footage of the thing being painted, but I did want to show the whole process, because it's like I say, this is using this nail bar airbrush. It's quite an unusual way of doing it anyway, and then the fact that you can apply the paint close to an unorthodox degree. Plus as well, on this one I tried a new trick. I was starting to realise that the sort of 20-30%, well, the sort of 30-40% thinners wasn't really necessary, so I think I've got about 10-15% thinner. Look how close this is. This is so close, it's like a joke. If you tried this stunt with normal paint, like i.e. not one of the Tamiya transparents, it would not go well at all. But with this stuff, it's like I say, it behaves differently. I think that there's somewhere between 10 and 15% thinners in there, that's all. It was so thick. Look how close it is. I can almost make a perfect stripe with it. It's so close. And looking at it here, while it's still wet, it looks bad, but trust me, it does not dry bad at all. This next shot was like a minute later. Look at it. It's almost dry. It's pretty much dry by this point because it was a sunny day. But look at that. So yeah, back inside 24 hours later, because obviously I didn't want to touch that for a good day. I wasn't about to ruin that with fingerprints and things like that. Just got it back inside, took the masking off, just a couple of little bits where the paint had bled onto the, where the red paint had bled onto the sort of aluminium look bed that I'm going for, so I just had to just get that off with a scalpel. It was nothing, it was 2 minutes of a job, but look at it shining even there. So there you go, that's what we end up with. So I'll leave you to look at it. At around 11 minutes 40, 11 minutes 41, something like that, you get an idea of the true nature of what this paint actually looks like in the light and how it changes in the light. It's quite beautiful. Anyway, thanks for watching.